Do you like Thief, Half-Life, System Shock 2, Deus Ex, Bioshock, or Dishonored? Well, have I got a game for you. Prey originally released in 2006, after a lengthy development cycle that can be dated back to 1995 with 3D Realms at the helm. On release, it was well received by critics and gamers alike, and shortly after, a sequel was announced. Though, once Bethesda and ZeniMax Media acquired the rights in 2009, it was quietly cancelled. In hopped Arcane Studios to pick up the pieces. Fresh off their huge success with new IP Dishonored, they started working on Prey 2. But rather than complete the sequel, they decided to go in a completely different direction, a reboot of sorts, using none of the planned sequel assets and only incorporating the broad theme of a protagonist taking on aliens. Arcane built Prey instead as a spiritual sequel to System Shock. And by God, that's evident here. Prey is a survival horror action-adventure game starring character Morgan Yu, whom can be male or female depending on player preference. I must applaud Bethesda's recent push to have the opposite sex well represented. You wake in a futuristic apartment. It's March 15th, 2032, and your brother Alex has recruited you to join TranStar's research team on Talos 1, a fully operational space station research laboratory. He calls you to remind you about your 9 AM appointment at the TranStar testing facility.
Don't forget to wear your suit.
Before leaving your apartment, you are free to roam around, take showers, read emails, throw shit around, and generally explore the environment. Donning your HEV-style TranStar suit, you make your way to the roof and go on a helicopter ride, with a very smartly put together title sequence.
That's a nice view on the bay there.
You set down on the roof of the TranStar testing facility. This is where you will prove you are ready for space travel. Greeted by your brother Alex, he reminds you that you will be in orbit by next week.
I promise.
As you proceed through the test rooms, things get progressively stranger. The team seems aggravated. Shit hits the fan in Chamber D after answering a few questions when the scientist through the glass is attacked by a face-hugging black monster. You pass out, then you wake up. It's March 15th, 2032, and you are late for an appointment. Without giving away too much story-wise, you end up in Talos 1, with most of the space station's crew dead, a wrench in hand, and a whole lot of questions. I have to say, Prey captured my attention immediately. The lineage of Prey is rich and long, and it seems like Arcane went for everything in the kitchen sink in this one. The similarities to System Shock 2, though, are abundant. I feel in the way that Dishonored captured the feel of the Thief series for a modern audience, Prey updates the System Shock lineage and brings it to the forefront of the AAA space again. And as far as I'm concerned, that is not a bad thing. If I was to describe the game simply to you, I would say it is System Shock 2 by way of Bioshock, though it has many sprinklings of Deus Ex, Half-Life and Thief amongst others on top. Prey marries both the retro Art Deco stylings and environmental storytelling of Bioshock, with the complexity and depth of gameplay evident in System Shock 2. It's not a graphical powerhouse, but it's stylized enough to make it gorgeous to look at. The art direction is definitely one of the strongest parts of the game. Why do I love this game already though? One thing. Inventory. The inventory screen made me giggle like a little girl when I opened it first. Inventory screens are a lost art in modern video gaming. Item management seems to be a huge part of Prey, which I think will add a layer of survival horror to the experience as my resources dwindle. The similarity to the System Shock 2 resource management and inventory screen is uncanny though. That goes for a lot of things in the game. Wrenches, sci-hypos, hacking, free-roaming space stations, turrets, recycling waste items, modding weapons, upgrade systems. The list goes on. It pretty much takes that formula and chips away at all the bad parts, making it a well-rounded and full experience. Enemies I've met so far include mimics. They look very like head crabs from Half-Life. These enemies can imitate any inanimate object and hide in plain sight, This makes searching around the environment for resources a scary experience, with their ability to pop up at any time. I think it's a masterstroke idea. They actually give me the shivers every time I fight them. I have also met phantoms, big humanoid looking black monsters that shoot large green balls of energy. They are tough to kill in my starting state, and this makes them a force to be reckoned with. The fighting so far seems tough but fair. You have to know when and when not to make a move. Stamina also plays a role in attacking with the wrench. It seems that Arcane want you to experiment with all weapons provided to you. A goo gun, which you get early on, slows down enemies and stops smaller enemies. This can be useful in crowd control and getting the drop on an enemy with a powerful attack. In a move reminiscent of Deus Ex, you can search computers and terminals for emails and file downloads, such as weapon upgrades and maps. There is a really cool addition to that as well, where a security computer may contain a list of all the humans on a space station, and whether or not they are still alive according to their vital sign beacon bracelets. You can then go on a side mission to find the body or person to pick their pockets clean or gain new info. Once you get to the lobby, you are free to roam the ship in whatever way you want. There is a main quest, but you can also pick up side missions as you go. It just makes my mouth water, to be honest. The game seems like a love letter to Looking Glass Studios, with many references to it scattered throughout the lean 2 hours I've played so far. I can highly recommend picking up Prey, especially if you liked any of the games I've referenced at the start. It certainly gets my 2 thumbs up. I'm Jack, you've been watching Hit the Snake First Impressions.